Chapter 78 Xanthor's Flashback. As both Xanthor and Vata make their way to their new destination, Xanthor starts to reminisce. What he sees now are decent times with his dad, and there was only another time when his dad was good with him because the rest was mostly negative. The memories start from when he was very young, a being full of fun and curiousness about what is around him, but he is often discouraged by this behavior. Vata raised Xanthor to be a hardened fighter like him, when he is not too busy ruling the planet. Telling Xanthor the many flaws in the universe, such as how many alien races are robbing the fighting talent of Vata's race, the Naravas. Also, the elements are currently entities to protect everything while coming up with odd solutions in Vata's eyes, such as encouraging many races to defend themselves. Additionally, how the elements' powers could be used in better ways, like recycling brownfield sites, more resources for everyone, and decreasing situations at a point where combat isn't needed. Now, the Naravas are starting to arrive on a planet of the Toplins, small mice-like aliens, mainly harmless, but thanks to the planet being bright and producing beacons which shoot lights into the sky, it is a good planet to draw the attention of the elements at their living form. These Naravas can travel via their craft, simply named Narava speeders, a yellowish-green, quite chunky, made up of a square front and a rectangular overall body. They also have a massive grey engine at the back, making them the fastest ships at the time before they all got destroyed during the elemental wave. Before making their way, Vata notifies the army and teaches them how to use a certain device that will transform the elements into a form of energy. Technology is mainly capable of taking power from other races, a technology which no longer exists. It got destroyed with the rest of Xanthor's world. The army is given 4 each, and told what to expect from each element, how to tackle them and who will be tackling them. Before the fight, however, alongside Xanthor's years of training and getting badly brought up by Vata, Xanthor does meet the army, even making a new friend, someone who often gets downtrodden by the others. Both have shared some memories, such as eating while sitting on a wall to admire a view, sharing their opinions about the universe's condition, and even sharing tips for when it comes to combating situations. Most of the training has been focused on finding ways to take down the elements. And despite some great effort from everyone, Xanthor has been struggling due to the negative influence of his dad. Vata tells Xanthor that he will never be ready and that he will have to be in the backseat of the army for when the time is right, and the time is now. Once all the Naravas arrive on the planet in hundreds of ships, this is where they perform the plan to wreck the beacons, capturing the elements' attention as they always sense activity throughout the galaxies. And so the elements let each other know what's happening, and so they all fly their way there. The Naravas then see the elements arriving, and the elements who already dislike the race are not pleased to see them again, knowing that they are a race to top the rest of the universe. As this havoc stops, the elements give the race a chance to stand down and live a peaceful life without the need to concur. But despite some fear from the Naravas, Vata doesn't stand down, trying to belittle the elements for their questionable ways of using power when the universe needs correcting, making the elements unsure of what to do next when the only other option would be violence. The Guardians, after negotiating, start to flee towards the whole army of Naravas, and despite lacking long-range attacks, they fight head-on like warriors. The living elements are an entity of their own, so godly in their look despite some animalistic features. For instance, Viber is a serpent-like creature, light blue, able to crawl on all fours with a long neck, long tail and flames on his back with an extra pupil in her eyes. Forza is a dragon-like creature with feathered wings and overall dark blue. Haphazard is a being with 4 eyes and 4 arms. Almost if you make an insect more buff, a floating entity as he hovers on cubes with cubes moving around him and overall green. Finally, Livinga is an ape-like entity with a turtle shell and many tentacles, moss everywhere with some growing vegetation and glowing veins. Vata orders the lot to equal the numbers towards each living element, with each team having their absorbing box, which won't be easy. When close to these elements, they can do all sorts like freeze you, burn you, de-evolve you, grow plants through you, crush you with telekinesis, zap you, manipulate your armor, sink you into the ground and much more. This would be the worst battle the Naravas had ever encountered, and the numbers were closing fast, and the race arrived in hundreds. Vata and others were fighting against Haphazard. Xanthor's new mate Kragog and others were fighting Livinga, Xanthor and others fought Viber and the rest were fighting Forza. So far, Forza does get taken down despite all the elements being at a similar power and fighting experience level. Sadly, Kragog died after trying to use the box against Livingar, hit in the face hard as Livingar evolved his fist to form not only very sharp claws but even the hand's strength was enough to kill Kragog. This disappoints Xyanthor, nearly fighting Livingar, but he keeps his focus on Viber. However, Livingar does eventually go into the box too, leaving 2 of the elements left to fight. The Naravas continue their methods such as their superior martial arts, their staff which has a blade at one end and a blunt weapon on the other, alongside other tools like movable cannons, shields, and grappling hooks, all useful for defense and keeping them guardians in control. Most of these tools the Naravas used during the elemental wave fight too, but after this fight. Most of these tools and other mechanisms were gone after this fight due to the diminishing power from the elements. Xyanthor is starting to lose help, but he tries to keep his father's training in mind while ignoring the bad upbringing as he tries to fight Viber on his own. He does nearly get in danger at a point where some of the Naravas go to try and help, but even they get beaten by Viber quickly. Xyanthor takes advantage of this by jumping on Viber from behind, using the box and turning Viber into its former form, meaning Viber is defeated too. This Vata sees this, somewhat jealous but pleased at the same time, really seeing Xyanthor as worthy throne material. Hermota, however, despite his efforts, see that he is alone, and so he decides to save himself. He has to be the guardian of the universe for the time being. Even to try and become friends with other races to help the universe from this murderous race. Hermota forms his craft, scares the Naravas away and flies off, ending the battle, and Hermota later hides until he is found by Zemian, who protects Hermota alongside the others until Orpheon finds out about Zemian's betrayal. And so, they all come back home, and while all the dead ones will be reverenced, others are rewarded including Xyanthor, and that is the only time where Vata is pleased with Xyanthor. And so, thinking back at this, Xyanthor is thinking of many other ways to please his only parent. In the end, the whole race comes back to their home world, and a massive memorial is performed to reverence those who died in their only fight with another kind in a very long time. Even Xyanthor's best friend was part of the memorial, making it more emotional for Xyanthor. After the reverence and even a monument to represent everyone fighting the elements, which created a new era where the elements are no longer protecting the universe, making a lot of races very uneasy. Xyanthor was also given some spotlight from Vata, with Vata seeing Xyanthor as ruler material and a good warrior, but due to other parts of Vata's routine, Vata was never this nice until the recent reunion. After all this daydreaming, Vata asks Xyanthor what he is thinking. And Xyanthor admits he was looking back on that time when they were fighting the elements, which Vata remembers, remembering how well Xyanthor did. Xyanthor even asks about Vata's element-based injuries, many cracks which glow yellowish-green, because of using the elements in the past. Without the element machine, and even without any of the elements, none of these injuries will heal. Vata has been used to them, as these are painful scratches that he has been maintaining for decades, but Xyanthor too is starting to get a few minor ones from the use of elements he has. Not only is he trying to get used to them, but because of the elements' powers, this is why he will be balancing between his martial arts skills and the elements' powers. Even asking for his dad's advice on how to counter the pain. Vata reassures him that if the elements are coming to them quickly, and so the pain will no longer exist once he has the full power. Xyanthor and Vata even discuss a plan for how they can rule the universe, with Vata supporting and defending Xyanthor when Xyanthor gains all the elements. And Vata wanting to see the various sites of the universe, more of an explorer compared to Xyanthor. Vata is looking forward to seeing many more sites across the universe, whether they remain or need repairing with the help of the elements. Finally, as the two are about to make their way, Xyanthor even asks if there are any extra tips for when using the amulet with the elements inside. Vata states that sometimes whenever the amulet gets stunned, some of the eternal element energy will be absorbed in his body at a point where he could use that as a backup power, but it can damage his body more so, especially when considering Vata's experience, making it a last resort. Vata knows about this because when he was using the amulet that one time in the machine 100 years ago, Vata sensed the elements surging through his body despite the amulet's containment.